Good afternoon. I'm Daniel Miller, and this is the Video Gaming Dialogue. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community members, participants and everyone watching us on various platforms worldwide. Thank you for joining us and thank you for being our dedicated community members who are supporting both my channel, the works we do here together, as well as our charitable fundraising. As you know, presently we are supporting our charity called Mind, a UK-based charity that is providing services for anyone experiencing any form of mental health difficulty, and we are trying to raise as much revenue as possible, as well as to raise some publicity for the charity. So if you're here, just please make sure that you click on the button which is on my bio page and either donate or just spread the word. So thank you for that. How is everybody today? A very, very good day today. Very warm, very summery. We've gone back to summer after a bout of very drizzly cold weather with lots of rain and some threats of flooding. So I'm very happy. And I've been up and about. I have seen our local market. I have been enjoying a bit of sunshine. So far it's been so good. But you know, a lot of my time in the course of the last few weeks really have been spent indoors. I had so much to do here with video gaming, and also there was several new titles arising, and I have been trying to really wrestle with the sheer quantity of information that's been coming my way, particularly in view of those Microsoft layoffs and redundancies, which had caused a lot of reaction from various parts of the gaming community. So it's been fairly busy news-wise, and hope you're enjoying the weather and the new games. And today we'll be discussing all of that, really. How's everybody? How are you guys doing? Are you also up and about? Are you playing some games? Are you perhaps considering how you are going to be spending your weekend? You know, just send us a tweet, bring us a message, tell us whatever is happening out there in your part of the world, and tell us what you are doing at the moment, what games you are enjoying the most. I'd be very curious to hear if any of you are indeed playing Hellblade, the game I talked about quite a bit in the course of this week in view of its release, which indeed was completed on Tuesday. The game came out around midday, and we all have been enjoying it ever since. So really, as the game came out, I've got to tell you, I've not tried anything else but played Hellblade, and honestly, I'm kind of really, I'm not surprised, but how to put it, enthused, excited, elated by the quality of the title that Ninja Theory have produced. Also very proud and pleased that this is a company that works from Cambridge in Britain, so it's a British-based company that's come to Microsoft and is producing such phenomenal quality works. I did say earlier in the week, after playing a bit of it, that I thought this was going to be a very cinematic type of tale, and indeed after, I guess, getting through most of it, I can certainly assure you that this is probably one of the most cinematic video games ever created. So it's a bit like walking into a very highly sophisticated, top-notch IMAX screening. You know, if you watched any big AAA Hollywood blockbusters in IMAX, you know what the experience is. Huge subwoofers, a lot of noise, a very immersive type of environment. And, you know, I watched very many films in IMAX. We have a big IMAX screen attached to our local multiplex, and it's just a completely different experience. I have seen some films like Blade Runner and Gravity, and trying to think, you know, it's quite a list of different titles in both screens, so in order to compare. And I think specifically with those two, like Blade Runner and Gravity in particular, the experience was just completely different. You were really very much part of that world in Gravity in particular, where you became the lead character lost in space, trying to really do something which will ensure her own survival. And it was just really so scary, so captivating, so much based on the sounds as well as the images, but it was the sound that really kept coming back to me as I watched in IMAX. It was very good also in a standard screen, but actually the effect, the overall immersive side of yourself becoming an active participant was much highlighted as you watched it in IMAX. So I think that there is a comparison, just came to me as I talk now, between Gravity watched in IMAX and Hellblade. And I tell you why. Hellblade is a game that really kind of brings you in on various levels. I mean, first of all, you walk into the mind of the lead character, and the lead character is Senua. She is a Celtic warrior who came from Scotland, from Orkney Islands, to Iceland in order to revenge the deaths of her loved ones. And you become very much a participant through her mind, and her mind is very disturbed. She suffers from what is called, in psychiatry, schizoaffective psychosis. She's hearing voices all the times, and the voices are telling her all sorts of things, from minor to major, from very nice to very ugly. And you really are, I guess, captivated by the whole experience straight away. And the audio recording in the course of the sequel is very different compared to the first one. So if you read some reviews which were perhaps less favorable, I would just say ignore. They've not played a game. They were just probably watching some gameplay on YouTube and doing it as they were traveling on a train or, the local buses. They have no idea what this game is actually giving you. And so initially you become very much involved with Senna. You become her, and then you're fighting the voices right from the start, and then you're fighting the external enemies, many of which will be attacking you in the course of your journey as Senna. It's very interesting how they kind of brought you in. You are her, you're highly disturbed, you're fighting your own demons as well as the external ones, and that grabs you. That really kind of brings you into that that experience. And what's fundamentally different compared to the first game is that this one is visually a lot more captivating and mouth-watering. They've gone through a recreation of Iceland in a way which I've not seen in any other video game. Very ultra hyper realistic, together with the characters emerging. And you are then on the quest in order to first of all complete the revenge, and then secondly you are going to be helping people who you meet on the way, and it's like your own personal discovery. The cinematic quality, a bit like in Gravity, if you watched it in IMAX, is very greatly heightened by the quality audio recordings and the audio directing. I can't stress enough how important it is for you to be, if you want to be playing the game, to be doing it on headphones, high quality headphones. Even if you have, for instance, a piece that has 3D sound, that will even make it better. And nevertheless, Turtle Beach will do on Xbox or your PC. And you really are being drawn into that world through the audio, through the noises, through the sounds, through her screams, shrieks, the battle sequences. I just can't put into words. It is so real and so captivating, as well as very frightening. The game is giving us something we've not seen in a video gaming world before, and that is that cinematic, immersive quality through which we are walking into a film that appears to be almost like virtual reality. We are an active participant, we're not just a bystander viewer, and we experience everything that she's going through in a way that I've not seen previously in any video game. At the end of the day, the game is not extremely lengthy, but it's all about that journey, it's all about that experience. You are going to be her, and you will be feeling exactly what she's feeling if you are following the story and if you're playing it as consistently as you should. The other thing that I find really interesting is they've introduced a photo mode that is making you able to take very nice photographs of scenery and whatever Senna is doing. And it's extraordinary. When you play for the first time, you really are almost addicted to consistent screenshots and what do you call it, the photo taking, as you have so many fantastically framed sequences and beautiful environments. It's just absolutely extraordinary. If you're interested and not play the game, you can obviously research on Twitter, which was hashtag Hellblade 2, but you also can go to my Twitter and have a look at very many screenshots I've taken and published, and they're just incredible. If you are doing screenshots on the standard gameplay mode, they may come across as a bit fuzzy, but when you are using the special photo mode that is in the game, then they come across as razor sharp, and you can actually adjust everything through the system which is there for you to use. So really, absolutely a must. And even if you don't want to take a few hundred or few thousand screenshots, take a few and make sure you post them on Twitter or elsewhere. Share them with your friends and your community or other viewers or other punters worldwide who are video gaming fans, and just put some words in there. Tell them what your experience was. So really, I did say earlier in the week that I felt the game was genre-defining and kind of generation-breaking. A game that's setting up new standards for the overall industry, as we've seen very recently during the last maybe 18 months. A big merger between cinematic media's film industries and television, I should say, as well. A big merger is taking place between film and video gaming industries. So have titles like Fallout, for instance, The Last of Us, that are being brought into television series, and obviously some of them are being brought into cinema. And I think having a game of that sort is giving us the opportunity for a completely new direction in video game making, and maybe in the near future a capacity or possibility for such films to be screened in cinema, where people can be taking decisions and have that kind of interactive, incredible experience. The system could well be established in due course, through which many viewers could take certain decisions randomly or remotely or in any other way, and therefore they would be deciding on how the overall experience was going to go. And just try to think, if you went to see a film like Marvel superheroes, could be any other bigger AAA blockbuster, and then you would have like 20 or 30 different outcomes, would actually ensure repeat viewing. People go back and see 20 or 30 times because they would want to see those different outcomes, and as we've seen in the game. So I think the capacity for food development is phenomenally great, and the limit's sky high. This project, the title Hellblade: Senua's Saga, is definitely providing us with new standards, and most importantly, it's opening up all these new horizons of ideas. It is not really a classical video game, and I also thought the first one was bordering on that, but this one even more so. The first one had lots of fighting sequences. You were meeting lots of bosses, and you were fighting your own inner demons. That was the backbone of the entire activity. The sequel is a lot more complex. As I said, you're fighting your own demons, the external enemies. You are also experiencing, soaking up the environment. The environment is representing your inner world, with volcanic eruptions, with lava and hot steam, sulfuric clouds emerging. It's all representing that uncalm, unsettled side of Senua's, i.e. your own psyche, which you are undergoing as you play the game. And it has such an absolutely mesmerizing effect. Beautifully toned in color, so many different caves and valleys and areas of the island at which you will find yourself in, and you'll just enjoy the views. You can just sit in there and look around, and also it does have quite a number of very difficult puzzles. I'm not sure, after reading some of the reviews, they said we'll finish the game in 5 hours. Well, hang on a minute. You've been reading walkthroughs. You resolve these puzzles so quickly and so easily. It's not possible. Some of them are really hard to crack. You get like it's three-tier puzzles, and you basically will manage to get one relatively easily, quickly, and then the second one. But the third one is really hard not to crack, and I've had real difficulties with some of those. And eventually I managed to find the solution, but it did take me quite a long while, which it does prolong the overall engagement with the game. I guess some people might say it's slowing down the experience, but don't forget, Senua as a character is puzzled by her own mind. She's trying to work out what is being given to her by God or nature, and it is a puzzle. She wants to work out the meaning of it all. In psychiatry, one of the critical things when you have people very seriously ill is to make sense out of nonsense. It's like one big task, and that's exactly what she's doing. She's like her own psychotherapist. She's the person who has strength, who wants to survive it, and is trying to find a solution. So the game works on many different levels, as an adventure stroke fighting game, as a psychological horror, as a game that's perfectly portraying mental illness, and giving it, I guess, a dimension that we've not seen in either film, television, or video gaming. And, you know, altogether highly cinematic, highly immersive, highly intoxicating to a degree. And I think most people probably would have not noticed these hidden faces that she can be collecting, the collectibles in the game. You can replay it straight away afterwards and, you know, look for these hidden faces and rocks and mountains and valleys and everything. So really, the overall response from the community and certainly from other reviewers has been very, very positive. You are getting a 9 out of 10, a 9.5 and 8.5 out of 10 from very many industry resources and magazines and online hubs. The only review which was negative that I was really quite shocked by came from GameSpot, and their reviewer wrote things that are completely relevant to the game. I'm not sure what game they played, but definitely they did not play Senua's Saga. They said things like a flimsy representation of mental illness, no time spent on the story, bad fighting sequences, that sort of thing. It's just ridiculous. Honestly, I had made my views known out there because I thought, if you are reviewing a game which you dislike, please come up with some constructive criticism, come up with arguments which are relevant. I mean, I, for instance, could understand that somebody who really enjoyed Hellblade 1 would say, well, they simplify the battles, and just because there aren't that many options through which you can be evading the ghouls or attacking them, that's not really something I like. They should have kept it exactly the same like in the first game. That was, in fact, quite versatile. You had very many options to which you can attack enemies and also duck, dive, cover, and do all kinds of things. So that'd be like a relevant argument. But what she had said just completely divorced from the actual reality. The reviewer, as I said, GameSpot really are like a sore thumb out there amongst all the other reviews, and the response from gamers has been much better than expected, and even people who never played such games were delighted. And as it goes, if you create hype on Twitter and Instagram and social networks, I guess Discord and TikTok and any other, then lots of people come in to have a look what this game's about, even if they've heard nothing of it. And it's captivating visuals. Anyone who watched some of the screenshots on Twitter would have been drawing in straight away. And it's just a remarkable achievement. I've written to Ninja Theory and I've said to them that I'm so proud and pleased to see that their sequel had been so successful and they excelled in every way. So the time spent on every single detail paid off massively. And it's not about the length of the game. In fact, I listened to the IGN reviewers, Dustin Laguerre and Ryan McCaffrey, and they said, they quite enjoyed playing games which were not taking you away from other activities by 150, 170 hours. And I remember listening to Josef Fares a little while back. He's the well-known, famous Swedish game developer and creator. And he said, it's not about the multiplayer, it's not about extensive duration of the game, it's all about the experience. It's about the story, about the fable, about what you're achieving, how much you're drawn to the relationships of the characters, and how much you can experience the environment. It needs to be immersive, needs to be something that will be wanting you to come back and play again and find something that will keep you interested, captivated. So that's exactly how I feel about this game as well. Strictly speaking, that kind of horror game with that much brutality would not be my jazz. It would not grab me, but it's the technique, it's the form, it's the structure to which certain messages are delivered that somehow just seem reasonable. They make sense. They explain that they escalated the violence in a similar way as you've seen with The Last of Us in the sequel, in order to present the viewer or the gamer with the dangers that the character's facing, so you become much more in tune, in sync with the way the mind operates in a situation where this survival is a very serious threat. And she certainly is applying very many different brutal methods in order to destroy the enemies, and they come in waves. They're very frightening, and I guess they come across as caricatures of humans. They wear sort of funny things, and they're quite different to the enemies in the first game. I've got to say, I've read a couple of reviews that indicated the games are exactly the same in the concept, and I think that's complete nonsense. They just looked at the beginning, or raced through the game, or not even played it properly, and came up with such conclusions. It's completely different. You have the protagonist, obviously she is the same character. You have the environment, which is again in Iceland, but at the end of the day, what happens in the game and the way it's presented, i.e., you know, they had the long discussions about whether it's the content or the form. You know, when it came to films, it was a big discussion in the 50s and 60s, if anyone was familiar with this. The content is one thing and the form is the other. Right? So somebody will resort to a story, somebody who likes a story, like the narrative feature film, and they'll just devour the story. They will not be bothered with the way the story is presented, like what form will it have. And the artistry of filmmaking is exactly in that niche area. So it is the content presented in a form or format that is distinctly original, that it has its own director's signature stamped all over it. And that is what we have in here. You say in this game, you have a story, the content, which is this character suffering from mental illness, trying to survive in a very hostile environment, and also fighting own battles in order to retain sanity, or regain sanity, I should say, and then also fighting the external enemies. So that would be the content, but the form is something completely different. It is almost like semi-surreal what you're experiencing, particularly when you're resolving some of the puzzles, coming into the caves, going through the water. It's just wonderfully presented. What can I say? I've not seen anything like it. I have played other horror games. I played adventure stroke puzzlers, and there were elements of it, but never ever did I see something that so consistently pulled all the strings together and presented us with a clear-cut masterpiece. And also need to say, maybe I've not stressed this well enough in the course of the week, Hellblade 2 is a game which is ahead of its time, and I think therefore Microsoft have really scored with the acquisition of the studio. This is something that will have huge developments in the future. It is opening up horizons of ideas for others, not just within the video game industry, but also within the world of cinema and television. Like I said, interactive films have been attempted several times in the past, and they have not always picked up amongst the gamers. And this game is opening up this possibility for the first time in a fashion, because you have the perfect merger of the content and the form in order to do something that's not been seen in the past, or at any other stage of the entertainment industry history. And that is very, very significant. Therefore, I think it is ahead of its time, and the opportunities there for other titles and you know, the projects that will be embracing the concept are certainly very, very great. So really, most of my evenings since Tuesday, so that's already 3 or 4 evenings on the trot, have been really, really embraced by Senua and that experience. I don't say I'm not a kind of person who'll, you know, watch that brutality and then have bad dreams or anything of that sort, but I want to warn maybe the younger viewers, or, you know, people who are in our community on the younger side. You need to keep in mind that this is a game that's tackling some serious issues. This is not just entertainment. Mental illness is a very, very serious illness that affects many humans, and the way it's presented there is ultra realistic. I mean, I worked with people who suffer from psychosis for many, many years, very many people over the years, and the vast majority were describing the events exactly in the same fashion. You know, it was that sort of experience. They used a team from Cambridge University, people who are working at the neuroscience department, as well as some psychiatrists and psychologists. So it was a big team of people advising on how to present the experience of psychosis. And the lead actress, Melina Jurgens, she actually stated in some of her interviews that she herself had a brief experience of psychosis years back, and therefore it was quite, on one hand, easy for her to get into the portrayal of the character, on the other, very, very difficult and frightening, as she had to be keeping the balance between her own sanity and being drawn too deep into the character, who was losing control at times, and who, you know, the lead character, who had been very much plagued by these auditory hallucinations. And as you've seen, or as you probably would have seen in the first and second game, the voices are very diverse. They keep coming at many different times of the day and night, and they get worse as the character becomes preoccupied or anxious. Anxiety or tension is the key trigger. So, these are the aspects of the game that I think anyone who's not familiar with mental illness should not underestimate. If you're playing it like I described on high quality headsets, you are going to have that very immersive experience, and you need to judge whether this is something that you really want to have. Particularly, I would warn people who are suffering from weak nerves or any other anxieties or any other difficulties not to be drawn into something that will be affecting you negatively. The idea is to present to the world what it's like to be suffering from such illness and how difficult it is for people to wrestle with it at all times and come to some degree of normality. Obviously, they could have had a situation in which Senua would just wake up, he'd realize this was a bad dream, and I thought the first game was going to end up like this, and you'd realize, yeah, this psychosis is something that plagues her in day-to-day life in present age. They've not done that, and I really would like to talk to the team whether that was the original idea, because that's the feeling I had from the beginning. But on the other hand, what they did produce is sublime, and as I said, you can simply play the game and then take many screenshots, and then later just put them on a very nice slideshow of your own making. You just enjoy the scenery and listen to some music. Download the music from the game that has been produced by a top Icelandic band. If you watched Jeff Keighley's presentations last year, you'll remember. I think it was it the Game Awards? It was either Summer Game Festival. I mean, it was the Game Awards in late November, early December, where they played that music live, and it was just so perfectly blending with the environment of Hellblade. I have to say, I've rarely have seen something which was as perfectly merging as that music and the title. So that's just some of my suggestions. All right, so that's maybe my reflections on Senua, Hellblade 2, Senua Saga, I should say. And the reviews and comments and everything else just keep coming. I get so many of them on Twitter. And some of the screenshots that people take are really terrific. And there are like galleries that everyone wants to present to the world, as everyone is captivated by the sheer quality. It's not just ultra realism; it's color toning. It's the razor sharp images. The focus on a facial expression. And I'm trying to think. It's only very few actors in history, who are able to portray terror and suffering in so much. As Miss Jürgens did. I guess this game gives it a very different platform for that to be visible, but nevertheless it is so well captured, and many times in the game you are being literally focused on her face and the pain that she's experiencing. It's like an actress from silent films. Silent films have lots of close-ups. As there was no sound, you couldn't hear these actors doing their performances, but you would identify with the emotion that was coming across. And just think of people like Lillian Gish, for instance, the actress had probably one of the most emotive faces seen during the silent film's history, roughly, about 30 years of it. And to be precise, maybe we'll say, was it 25 to 27 years in total, if we consider the films came out officially in 1895, and the talkies would have been emerging from 1927. But on the other hand, if you were to be exploring the faces of some actresses who emerged in latter years, I think the first actress who had one of the most emotional expressions and who did emerge during the sound film era is Ingrid Bergman. So if you watch her, you can just switch the sound off and just try to soak up the emotion in her early films, in particular when she played for Hitchcock. It's just extraordinary. It's just, I remember years back, I used to watch like Tess, Roman Polanski's film, Anastasia Kinski, and I thought, my goodness, Kinski is just like Ingrid Bergman. Her face is so full of emotion. What I'm trying to say is, an emotional face speaks volumes. It's worth a million words. You have to say nothing. You just watch that face and you'll soak up on the pain, suffering, broken hearts, difficulties. It just speaks volumes, and that is what you have with Malina Jürgens in this film, in this game, I should say. And it's just so captivating. It really is, and I can't imagine this game without her. Honestly, it's similar to what people said about Gone with the Wind. You know, they've gone through hundreds and hundreds of actresses to give the main role to somebody who would be adequate for the role of Scarlett O'Hara, and then it was the brother of David O. Selznick. David O. Selznick being the producer of Gone with the Wind, who had discovered Vivien Leigh. By chance, I believe, he went to London Theatre and watched her when she played whatever character that she was doing on stage, and he literally brought her to David, and he said, "This is your Scarlett O'Hara." And Selznick just looked at her and he said, "You're right. That's right. She's got the role." And they've auditioned so many actresses of that period. You even have on special editions the outtakes with very well-known actresses, people like Paulette Goddard and Bette Davis and Katharine Hepburn, and all sorts of other well-known actresses who were, I guess, hoping to get the role. But Vivien Leigh, who at that time was not a well-known actress worldwide, somebody who was a rising star in Britain, particularly on stage, was the person who got it. But the reason for that was her face. Her face was just, and also the use of her voice, I have to say, but her face was just like so emotional. When you watch in some early films from the late 30s, you will get that so pertinently. You will really feel her pain. And if you're familiar with her history, Vivien Leigh had a very, very kind of troubling childhood. She was a person born in India, and then she was brought up in, if I'm not mistaken, it was in England, in convent-run schools for Catholic children, and she did have a lot of difficulty during her upbringing, and later in life, after suffering from miscarriage, suffering a miscarriage, she also developed what is today known as bipolar disorder, which plagued the rest of her life and her career. There were indications of her being very tempestuous even before then, and there were some signs that she perhaps is suffering from something which is of that sort, but it became more and more prominent at that point. So, her face represented that raw emotion, and any of the films which you watch from that period, inclusive obviously the most legendary film that she made, Gone with the Wind, which is, an all-time classic. Whether you agree with the political viewpoint or not is a separate matter. It's just, it's one of the greatest films of that era, made on a huge budget and made a long period of time, and just delivering on every single level for the audiences of the world, really, in the late kind of pre-Second World War 1930s. So having been able to capture that emotion was critical for the success of this game, and Malina Jürgens does that perfectly. Don't forget, she's not really a full-time professional actress. She's somebody who worked in the video game industry, and she had been able to adapt to the overall project, and I think auditioned for the role, and they just said, a bit like Vivien Leigh, you're absolutely a perfect match for this. You are Senua, and therefore you will be her. So anyway, these are some of my thoughts and recollections of my gaming experience so far with the game. I've gone quite far. I probably will finish it within the next couple of days, but I don't want to be doing any speedruns. I want to enjoy every bit of it, and doing it for like 2-3 hours in a trot, and then enjoying really everything about it, from her performance through the environment, the experience of the way mental illness is portrayed, as well as activities with fighting sequences, the resolution to the difficult puzzles, and everything else. Anyway, so this is just a few thoughts about this. The other game I played, and the game I'm still needing to finish, is, as you know, Lara Croft, and that is Tomb Raider Ultimate Edition. I in fact double checked, and the Ultimate Edition is available on PlayStation as well. So PS Plus also has it through the streaming services, and it's exactly the same remastered edition. So if you are on PlayStation, make sure you download and play the game. It's a terrific game as well. I've got to say, I mentioned a few times, I was surprised with, again, brutality of it all, and it comes across as a adventure stroke survival type of game. It does have elements of horror as well, which was surprising. It's a very interesting merger of the two genres into one. And as soon as Hellblade came out, I was just taken away from Lara Croft, and I really wanted to complete the game. I think I'm down to about 80% so far, and in both games you have lots of collectibles and very easy to miss. So I think if you are one of those completionists, make sure you really look at every corner, you explore every single avenue, every single area. But coming back to Tomb Raider Ultimate Edition, it did really bring me back to myself and ask myself a question, well, why did I not play this game years back? But I'm not resentful. I think the Ultimate Edition that's been fully remastered is providing us with a fantastic experience. It's very immersive as well. It happens, takes place in a weird environment of some sort of distant, long forgotten Japanese island, and there's plenty to soak up in there as well. So I guess it's a perfect merger of the two. There are some games coming to Xbox and PlayStation within the next couple of days. I'm not going to reflect on these today, and I will be telling you a bit more about them tomorrow when we kind of look at what's happening during the weekend. I recommend a few titles. There's been no time for anything else. If you want to really, I remember listening to Laguerre and McCaffrey the other day, and they were saying, they really enjoyed their younger years where they had a lot more time and they could just simply sit and play the game and become fully part of that environment. For McCaffrey, that was his experience of Oblivion. He was doing a pre-release review for Bethesda and Microsoft, I think, at the time, and he played it in a hotel 12 hours per day, several days in a row. But I think he said about it was between 4 days and a week. It's a massive big game, as you know. He does take a bit of time to complete, and he said it was just one of the best gaming experiences he'd ever had because he kind of lived in that world. And Destin said something similar about some other titles, and he said that at the moment he plays Destiny like all of us, and Destiny is a sort of game that takes up a lot of his time, and therefore he cannot be engaging just about any title that comes around the block. And I agree with that. If you want to really experience Destiny, you want to be doing it every single week and completing all the tasks, there's a lot to do. In fact, they were discussing Kingdom Come Deliverance sequel that will be coming out, I think, towards this year. I think it's November or December. And they were not that favourable about the first game, and I completely disagree with them. Kingdom Come Deliverance is a terrific RPG. It's a wonderful game, similar to what you have in Assassin's Creed in the recent installments. It is like a historical novel. Anyone who has any connections to the continent will be delighted to learn about what these European kingdoms were like in 14th and 15th century. It's just extraordinary. You learn everything about those kingdoms through the activities of the lead characters. And what I really liked about Kingdom Come Deliverance was the adult element. So it was a bit like walking to Skyrim. It was all kind of geared towards a fairly adult audience, and there was a lot of mischief, there was a lot of romancing and all sorts of things happening with the lead character and some females, and I really liked that. I thought it was just a challenge to what we've seen in the similar sorts of historic games, and it was giving us a lot of food for thought. And I thought they complained about fighting sequence. Fighting was quite basic, I guess similar to what you had in Oblivion to a certain degree with old gen. But that game was not just about fighting, it was about environment. It was about learning, all related to these medieval European kingdoms, and just pursuing the adventure that the lead character has. That's kind of fell upon him. He didn't really look for that, but wars, consistent conflicts and everything were just dragging people into unwanted activities, and at the later date they became knights and kings and heroes and all sorts. So that's definitely a game I look forward to. That's the sequel to Kingdom Come Deliverance, and it was interesting that they reflect on this as what they're called Warhorse Studios. I think the studio it's Bohemian Studios. Yeah, I think it's the latter one. I apologize. It's just so many titles and studios kind of racing through my mind, so sometimes get it wrong. Basically, the studio making had their major showcase presentation, and they were talking about what is to follow, what kinds of activities the lead character will have, and I've not watched the presentation, still need to catch up with that, but Destin and Ryan were watching it, and they were really mesmerized by some of the quality. They just raised the bar for next gen presentation, and obviously the graphics are a lot more realistic compared to the original title, so a lot to look forward to in that respect as well. All right, so that's all about Hellblade, which has been taking up most of my time this week. We had a few sessions of Destiny, and I have to apologize to my viewers. I had a bug the other day on Destiny 1, and I played on PlayStation 5. For some reason, controller stopped working, and I kept getting messages indicating that the battery is low, and the battery was not low. And then later, the controller would not recharge. So I don't know what the problem was, and it just completely halted my activity, which was in CIVAS, and delayed me quite sizably. And the problem with that, the controller and the way it's attached to my Twitch stream is that I have my headset plugged in. And if the controller goes dead, there's no sound. You actually don't know what's going on. I left messages really through chat, and people are becoming fully aware that something was seriously wrong. But for the viewers, I mean, just very sorry. Sometimes these technical issues happen, but this is very peculiar. I couldn't easily disconnect. That was the biggest problem. I couldn't disconnect as everything was live and active, and I was idle in the game as everything came to standstill with my controller. It just wouldn't operate. And that was disappointing. And I also have noticed that the number of viewers and people who are watching and streaming Destiny 1 on Twitch had very significantly dropped. The vast majority of people just have gone to the sequel, so we're not getting that many new members. To be fair, I've not been streaming every single day, which does make a difference. But then again, people who are popping in and saying hello are usually our regulars, and anyway, we need to reconsider that needs to be done on the channel, as Destiny is our main game here, and I think it's likely I'll be streaming a lot more Destiny 2 in the near future, and then from time to time we'll get some Destiny 1 sessions. I don't like playing Destiny by myself, I like full interaction. I like always a 3-piece fully on board, irrespective of the activity. And as you've seen, we have so much to look forward to, really all arriving to us in less than 2 weeks. Very excited about the final shape, and we've had lengthy presentations through Bungie on all the changes which are going to be applied to the game. And I have to say, some of them are really quite hard to digest. I was giving a presentation the other day in my news bulletin, and after reading a couple of paragraphs, I just had a headache. There's so many different changes. Who on earth would be able to remember all of that? And changing class activities and the mods and the way certain weapons could be crafted, and it just seemed like really lengthy and very technical and very detailed. The best way to learn that is by stepping in once it's released, and then you can be asking other friends and community members here, Destiny community, to actually provide you with some guidance if they already worked out whatever the new additions were. I'm very excited about that, as I think enhancing each weapon and making it fully craftable will be definitely of lot of interest to many people who play Destiny, and making it a lot more streamlined, more next gen, and more, I guess, in sync with what we're expecting from these types of games in the near future, making it more interesting, making lengthy grinds more bankable. You know it all. Anyway, let me just give you some other news that have been arriving to us on the wire. So, going back to Destiny, we've seen now for the first time what the new Zavala is going to sound like. We have Keith David, who's replaced Lance Reddick in view of his sad passing last year, and as you know, that the entire voiceovers for Destiny up to the final shape were already completed by Lance Reddick, and Keith David had joined recently, and he is now being heard, and I have to say he comes across very well, but still that deep baritone, the deep bassoonish voice of Riddick is something that I really miss. But we'll get used to the new Zavala, and I think he's as close to the old as possible, and really glad to see that they were able to find an actor who will be a very good match. So I have a couple of clips of this on my Twitter, and if you're interested, just head to my Twitter, you have a look, and you will be more than familiar then with all that is to follow, and we'll be very happy about Keith David being present in Destiny as the final shape launches. So we had some information coming from Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann, and they really did stir up some controversy. I was a bit surprised when I heard what he said. Basically, from the perspective, he is the person behind The Last of Us and the Uncharted series, the most successful titles that Naughty Dog had produced. And he said that the next game that he is making, or they're making, could be redefining mainstream perceptions of gaming overall. So I think that could have been slightly misinterpreted or misunderstood. He was referring primarily to the use of AI, which is what kind of popped up in the course of the following 24 to 48 hours. And so basically there had been initially a reaction from the community indicating that he's arrogant. How can he say that the next game is going to be changing the way the industry operates? But he then came back on Twitter to indicate that this was just completely misquoted, and he said he didn't say anything of that sort. He indicated in his responses that well, he did say that the new project may be the he'd be most excited about it. He said that something really fresh for us, and he didn't say it could redefine mainstream perceptions of gaming. So I'll just read what he had said. This is not quite what I said, Druckmann indicated. In editing my rambling answers in my recent interview with Sony, some of my words, context and intent were unfortunately lost. Well, here's the full, long, rambling answer for the final question about our future game. So there are... just bear with me a second. It's very, very small print here for me to read, but basically what just let me see. Yeah, so basically in this interview, he was being asked questions to share his personal vision or dream project that he hopes to be realizing in the future. And he said that having held co-directing and lead writing roles for both The Last of Us and Uncharted franchises, Druckmann said he's worked on several dream projects already, but he's still looking forward to the next one, which means every one of those, not just like one in particular. So he indicated, I'm currently excited about the new one, which is perhaps the most thrilling yet, and nothing at all is known about this new project, and whether it is part of the Last of Us series or anything else, you know. And he did say last year, it was March 23, that they did decide on a new project. So he also offered a brief tease of what the game is kind of looking to achieve. So he said, there's a growing appreciation for gaming that transcends all age groups, unlike when I was growing up. This shift is highlighted by a venture into television with The Last of Us, which I hope would bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers, which I think has been achieved. The show's success has spotlighted gaming, illustrating the rich, immersive experiences it offers. So you could see how, for instance, with that series, they brought those two things together. But I think with Hellblade, this is taking it really a step up. It goes even further. So this visibility excites me not only for our current project, but for the broader potential of gaming to captivate a global audience. I'm eager to see how this new game resonates, especially following the success of The Last of Us, as it could redefine mainstream perception of gaming. Well, you know, it is the question of how much more immersive you can make it. And, you know, it's an ambitious description. I don't think he was referring to him being a genius who will change the industry altogether. It's just, the difficulty we have today in the gaming industry is that there are lots of people involved, and there's a lot of copy and paste types of comments on many different social networking hubs coming from certain in-the-know entities. So you'll find, for instance, if somebody comes up with a comment that's not quite accurate 9-10 in the morning, by midday already all the other hubs picked up on it, copied and pasted, or, you know, interpreted some of that. And this is how you get these rumors flying about, or, like I said many times, without checking the real facts. If you are going to be quoting somebody, make sure you read the original interview. It's as simple as that. So he says the show's success has spotlighted gaming. Yeah, I've said that already. And then he said this is all very conceptual, of course. It sounds like a Naughty Dog is planning to make a bigger leap than ever before with its next game. I think that probably is linked with the visual side of their next project. I thought the visuals with Naughty Dog, maybe not The Last of Us 2, but the other ones, was slightly lagging behind the next gen, you know? It just, it's not a retro feeling, but when you played Uncharted, you felt, oh, this is an amazing game. But visually, it does bring us back a bit to some of the other games you played in the past. And that's done in purpose, in the same way as, for instance, Todd Howard at Bethesda does exactly the same with his projects. And he's been criticized recently for bringing this into Starfield. A lot of people said from the industry that they felt that system of interaction, which is very similar to what you had in Oblivion, in Skyrim, and the early Fallout, is outdated. So that the younger generation gamers will not cotton on. They will see, this is a bit tedious, it looks a bit retro. At the same time, if you think how, for instance, Starfield had been created, they wanted the ships on the inside to look very retro in purpose. And it's a clash. I personally don't agree with this. I think it really clashes with the environment. You fly a ship and you feel it's like a retro ship, and you go to a planet, it's all kind of state-of-the-art, cutting-edge, next-gen graphics. But that's that. You know, it's a concept that Todd Howard did have, and obviously they can change this as they go along. They could really redesign ships with updates and create something that's less retro. Maybe you can have options like similar to what has been offered in Halo through the Master Chief Collection. So, you know, I think they will be certainly making sure that the leap is going to be massive, as the company had produced some of the most significant titles for Sony, and they will want to be wrestling with other companies on that level, like the next gen, genre breaking level, in a big way. So that certainly is my take on this. And outside of remasters, remakes, and collections, they released The Last of Us Part 2 in 2020. It's already 4 years gone. Uncharted Lost Legacy in 2017, and Uncharted 4: A Thief's End in 2016. So IGN did give it 10 out of 10 for The Last of Us 2, and I think they really should have been as kind to Hellblade. They should have given it 10 out of 10. I've listened to the video review, and it didn't grab me. I just thought the reviewer was how to put it, instead of describing in plain English the experience of the game, he was trying to create a masterpiece of his own writing, and it didn't really connect with me. I even did not watch his review until the end. The video review, that is. I've read it otherwise on paper. Alright, so that's really what's been going on with Druckmann and some of these comments. We've heard then that, let me see, Digital Foundry had a technical review of Hellblade, and they said that this is really a defining moment in the evolution of real-time graphics, and I absolutely agree with this, and it's been reflected on by many different industry participants. But don't forget, Digital Foundry is this in-the-know hub that every developer watches. These are the technical experts that tell you exactly how the games function, what works, what doesn't. They test games on various types of platforms, and really a true joy to watch most times. So they've given it 10 out of 10, and that's really non-biased. You know, it's just down to the quality of that performance. And so we hear from Eurogamer reflecting on this, indicating that this is a carefully paced cinematic game, almost like the logical conclusion of those early 90s FMV experiments. And the writer in here is John Lineman. He said that he's just loving it, and it's in the best way possible, fascinated by the existence of the game. And in an era where it feels as if publishers are pushing to fill their games with arguably too many features, Hellblade is just simplifying it. And it's a tight, pure experience, and even more so than a typical video game, which is what I told you already. And he says the focus is so tight, some may be put off by the lack of interactivity, but let's be clear, it's his singular focus that allows it to shine, becoming its own thing, that you will not soon forget. You can't forget it. It is so pertinent and so percolating through your mind and through your emotions that, you know, it's just unique in that respect. And they said also, Mr. Lyman said it's a masterpiece in audiovisual design from developer Ninja Theory, and really an astonishing demonstration of how Unreal Engine 5 can be producing games in the present day and age. They use the latest Unreal Engine, and it's just really, as I said, provided us with a masterly title. And so let me see, it's just reviewing the game a bit. I'm not interested in this. And yeah, they're reflecting on incredibly mouth-watering visuals, and then they're also emphasizing how incredibly important the audio is, because it takes a very different approach compared to most games. And the key elements are the voices that Senua hears throughout the game, and that's the manifestation of psychosis. So, and they're relying on binaural audio. So they want people to be playing it. I told you all of this already. I don't want to go through this. Basically, they've given it 10 out of 10. And Eurogamer, together with Digital Foundry, thought this was a complete masterpiece. And we are really happy to see that such reviews are being presented, contrasting perhaps some of those who are not as excited. So we've heard some news from Embracer Group, and they're indicating that some of the games have not been selling too well. So you could see that their reboot of Alone in the Dark didn't sell well, they indicated. And they've just given us the report for the end of the financial year, ending March 2024. They said that also Outcast: A New Beginning, which is a sequel to the 1999 action game, also performed poorly. So he said, well, we've been impacted by softer than expected performance for the two titles, Alone in the Dark and Outcast: A New Beginning, and both of these were developed by THQ Nordic. And don't forget, THQ Nordic is a company that's been around for a long time. Many great titles behind them in the past, so it's very disappointing. And they said that they had lots of positive receptions from the users, but not really as good coming from critics, and therefore it did not perform according to the management expectations. I need to stress that that's happening quite frequently. You get the critics not embracing the game, and then the gaming community loving it. And I have seen that for quite a few titles really in recent months and years. And at the end of the day, the question arises, are the games made for the critics or for the gaming community? You know, like you've seen the other day, there was unbelievable amounts of flack given to Assassin's Creed Shadows for many different reasons. Primarily, people did not like the idea. Just bear with me, I suddenly had something really that's affecting my screen display here. Primarily, as they are introducing this new concept of two different characters who you are going to be playing in the course of the game, and you'll be able to switch from one to the other. One is stealthy, the other one's kind of head-on with guns blazing, and it's down to the player preference, down to the gamer to decide what they want to be doing. Anyway, many negative, I won't say reviews, but comments, lots of negative feedback coming from the industry in respect to this, and at the same time, the gamers are buying it in a phenomenal quantity. So the sales of Assassin's Creed Shadows are skyrocketing, yet the negative comments keep coming in. So, you know, there is that degree of discrepancy, and I'm personally not really in favor of any of this, as I consider us needing to be objective. And indeed, if you dislike something about the game, just fine. You know, not there isn't a single product available anywhere that is going to be perfect for everyone. But if you want to be arguing as to why you don't like it, just to come up with some reasonable argument, to come up with some facts, explain to us what you disliked. Not just like somebody who's pulling a rabbit out of a hat, or coming up with hypothesis that is not relevant to the actual product or to the actual gameplay, just because you've heard someone had said something somewhere. I did come across a few times recently, across some game reviewers who were kind of providing comments on certain games, and they said, I've not played the game, but this actually looked very good. Well, fair enough, it looked good, but you not played the game. It's the same thing in other entertainment industries like music, and you know, I've not seen this artist live, but he actually is like it before. You've not seen him live. You don't know what he's like. Go and see him live and then base your judgment according to the quality of his performance. I've not seen the film, but this looked funky. Well, no, you've not seen the film. You can't comment on whether the film's actually very good or bad. You can't base your views on other people's write-ups. You need to go and see it in cinema and then take your own pick. So coming back to the reports coming out of Embracer Group, they indicated that Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection and South Park Snow Day delivered within expectations. And then they said also Tomb Raider 1 to 3 Remastered was positively received and performed above management expectations. Well, you know, I'm not surprised because Tomb Raider indeed had delivered in a big way, and the quality of it really, of the remaster, had, I guess, exceeded expectations. So we have this week a couple of vidocs coming from Bungie, and they are all about the future of Destiny and Final Shape. So you have a very interesting vidoc. I recommend everyone to watch it, and I don't really want to provide you any spoilers. It's a very, very good documentary. You would be familiar with some of their mini documentaries from the past prior to the showcase events. They've taken actually liberty now to do it in advance. So we have several mini showcase events coming from Bungie in order to warm everyone up. But from my point of view, I'm always lukewarm on seeing too much about it prior to the actual release, as it could make me feel a bit biased, could build up certain expectations, and I don't want the actual gameplay to be spoiled by something I've seen prior to the release. So anyway, the videos are on my Twitter, so just head to my Twitter, click on follow, and you can watch them with ease. They'll give you all the answers, and certainly they'll provide you with a wealth of information on what we are to be expecting as the Final Shape arrives to our consoles. We've heard again that Black Ops 6 is going to be presented as part of their Microsoft, was it called Microsoft Redact? Or is it Xbox Redact? So the presentation that Microsoft and Xbox were doing on June the 9th at 10 o'clock Pacific is going to be definitely linked to Black Ops, and Black Ops 6 will be released directly to Game Pass on day 1. So that's going to be the second part of the showcase. So the first one is going to be dedicated to all the new titles, and then the big one will be focusing on Black Ops 6, similar to what we had last year with Starfield, remember that? And obviously Call of Duty being one of the biggest franchises of all times, now being under the Microsoft umbrella, they'll be trying to cash up on this as much as possible. And I just want to see, well, I'm quite curious to see the concept behind it. Don't forget, previous games were selling first, and they tried with Warzone being offered free of charge. I brought in enormous amounts of new gamers to the series, and then they made $2 billion within 1 year on Warzone, which in fact was offered free of charge. It was just incredible that so many people buying various treasure packs and cosmetic items and that. But I'll be curious to see how the concept of monetizing will be working within the framework of Game Pass being the streaming platform, and whether they will be using some other ideas. So it remains to be seen, and hopefully it is going to be a huge success. We've heard that XDefiant was released the other day, and it's very, very popular. Everyone played it on day 1. I have to say, I was very surprised to see that even the biggest streamers have picked it up. Whether they were sponsored or not, I'm not sure, but still, I have been very, very amazed by the sheer quantity of people doing it, and also how much they loved it. So I wondered, what was the attraction? Going back to presentations and the pre-release trailers, and just realized, hang on a minute, it's a new game with the old characters, and we have maps that brought into the game from all the other series that Ubisoft made. Well, that's obviously very attractive. You played Splinter Cell, you played Far Cry, you played Ghost Recon, and all these guys come into the maps that were previously seen, but with a different strategy. It's a PvP game. You are going to be playing against one another. So that is hugely attractive, and there's a huge capacity for the cosmetics, to be bought and sold in that. So massive big capacity for monetization, I guess similar to what we've seen in Warzone. and graphically, visually, it looked very, very good. There were some problems with the service on day one, as you would expect, due to the sheer volume of new participants, but that seems to be more or less sorted by today, and I could see that they had more than 1 million users within 2.5 hours of the launch. Just think about it. The game's been up and running for 2 hours, you already have 1 million people playing. It's just absolutely staggering. The figures are incredible. But don't forget, the game's like X-Defiant with the old maps and old characters being brought into the new environment or the new type of gameplay will be always attracted to very many people who were previously playing all the other titles, but equally there'll be a huge interest to the guys who are interested in PvP, you know, and don't play Counter-Strike or Halo or Apex or PUBG or any of the other ones. They will be very interested, and so it looks like a huge success. Still need to try it. I actually wanted to, it was released on the same day as Senua, so I wanted to download it and then try it at the same time. I said, no, we'll just wait. This is a PvP game. We'll try it in another week, and then we'll give you a very, very good picture of what this game's like. So this week we had Haunty come out on Xbox Game Pass, and that came out yesterday. So I've not tried it. I'll have a look at it first, and then I'll give you a mini presentation, and that will be done probably during the weekend. So Haunty is the new acquisition, the new addition to the Game Pass. Then we have, in view of the anticipation of the showcase presentation, the Black Ops 6 and all that said already, we have also a major sale that is being offered on various platforms through Activision Blizzard. And let me just see, they're reducing some titles by 75%, I think, so it's a good chance for people to grab some of the older games on really good prices. And they said that the discounts are featuring titles like Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, and Diablo. Diablo, probably the older games. I gotta say that when I had a similar sort of offer prior to Diablo 4 release, I picked up Diablo 2 Remastered, or Resurrected, whatever it's called. You know, the full Monty, literally everything in the game, together with Diablo 3, the full content, Game of the Year edition, for less than I think it was £11.20. Unbelievably low price, and that was in view of the new games release. You know, in order to draw new gamers in. And anytime when you get these kinds of offers, do not hesitate. Just purchase the game straight away. Make sure it is in your library. It'll stay with you forever. And just think about it. The sheer quantity of content, Diablo 3 and Diablo Game of the Year edition, and then Diablo 2 Resurrected, everything, the full content, £12. You know, just unbelievable. Alright, so the sale will be running until June the 8th, so it's about 2 weeks, and that is just literally until Monday before the Xbox Game Showcase will take place on Sunday, June the 9th. So, you know, there are going to be these titles. So look at this. You have Call of Duty Black Ops 50% discount, Black Ops 2 70%, Zombies Chronicles Edition 67%, Black Ops Cross-Gen 65%, Vanguard Cross-Gen 60%, between 60 and 70%, the vast majority of them. Let's have a look. Diablo 2 Resurrected 67%, the Ultimate, Diablo 4 50%, Prototype 2 70%. So, you know, it's a no-brainer. Just make sure you go in and purchase some of these titles. PlayStation's just added Red Dead Redemption 2 to the catalogue of instant access on their PlayStation Plus platform, streaming platform, and I've got to say, I watched some of it on PS5. It looks amazing. Honestly, it is just really, you really want to step in and play straight away. I have to say, it did look better than on my Xbox. I don't know why. Maybe it's the next-gen remaster, or there was something different. And it just seemed to have been like a step up quality-wise. So I've not completed Red Dead on Xbox. I played it during the time when it was still featuring on the Game Pass. And I'll start it from the beginning, and I'll do it. I need to see how long it is going to stay on PlayStation 5. Rockstar are not a company that is very keen on their games being on streaming platforms. I have seen recently they did bring GTA back to Game Pass, but generally the other games were just given and then taken away within a very short period of time. So if you see that any of the Rockstar titles do feature or come back to either of the streaming platforms, make sure you play them straight away, because you know what, the massively games will take you a few hundred hours to complete, and the game's simply gone quick. So you know, let's see what else we've got here. The Ultimate Festival of Warhammer video games had returned to everyone on the 23rd, which was in fact yesterday, and they're bringing in well, giving you a clear idea on what is to come our way. So let me just have a look. They're also offering, as always when you have these presentations, many different discounts, which is absolutely terrific and wonderful. And Warhammer Skulls, the Ultimate Festival of Warhammer video games, returned, and Rahul Kohli was doing the hosting, and then it had the premiere for Warhammer 40,000 Mechanicus 2, and then there was a new content and loads of new niceties coming from the games which are on Xbox Warhammer games. And then the celebration also includes a week-long sale, which I guess began yesterday, and there are exclusive discounts on Warhammer games. So it's definitely worth catching on Microsoft Store if you're on Xbox or PC. Make sure what titles are being discounted. I've not played many. I mean, I've tried Warhammer games, but I never played any of them through and through. I never completed any of those, and I guess that puts me to shame. As Warhammer games are very good, very exciting and beautiful visually, and plenty of combat and everything. But you know, you can't really catch up with everything. So I'm still due. I remember playing several that were introduced on free gameplay for weekends, and I also played those that were on the Game Pass in the past. So you know, and I think there was some PlayStation Now. I remember having a look at quite a few, but never actually gone to the full game. So that was being said. Let me see what they mentioned. Warhammer 40,000 Mechanicus 2 has been announced, and that's following its world premiere trailer at Skulls. It showcased an early look at the story, and also has revealed that both the Mechanicus and the Necron factions will be playable this time around. Furthermore, critically acclaimed composer Guillaume David will be returning back again with his orchestra score, and he will be bringing the setting to life with awe-inspiring music, while the gripping continuation of the Mechanicus saga is being handled by veteran author Ben Counter, and he's very well known for his Black Library novels. So that's looking good. And then you've got several other announcements coming from them, indicating, giving us the first look at Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, and that is a 3-player co-op campaign and online multiplayer game. So pre-orders are already accessible live. You can pre-order if you want. I think September the 9th is the release date. And then you have some very nice screenshots coming out of the studio, so you can see what that Space Marine looks like. In fact, I was reminded today on Twitter that they have a brand new theme, which is downloadable. It's not downloadable. It is what do you call it? You can access it, enable it on your Xbox, and it's your Space Marine, the big one in there. That will be imported to your theme, so you can have. I put Hellblade on mine at the moment in view of the game, but the Space Marine looks also awesome. So also for you to explore. Don't forget, and always double check on new inclusions when it comes to these animated themes. They look really pretty on your Xbox if you are a user of that Microsoft platform. They also have a new controller, which is Elite Wireless Controller Series 2, and then they have Warhammer 40,000 Bolt Gun returning, and then announcing a new DLC expansion called Forges of Corruption. And Malum Kado will be thrust back into action, so that's looking good. Then we have Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader, back after a great start with its first expansion, Void Shadows, coming back to us on August the 8th. Then we watched trailers for Season 5 of Blood Bowl 3, and it was showing off the new Necromantic Horror faction, a huge teaser for Warhammer 40,000 Battle Sector. And then you have World of Tanks Modern Armor, also celebrating Warhammer with the mighty Rogaldorn tank coming to Xbox. And then Call of Duty reminded us that it's your last chance to get the Warhammer 40,000 themed Tracer Pack for Call of Duty. Over on Windows PC, Total War Warhammer 3 gave us a glimpse at the free next legendary hero called Karanak. And then also the Game Pass subscribers can be using Xbox Free Play Days to try out multiple Warhammer games this weekend. So that will be Blood Bowl 3, Rogue Trader, Realms of Ruin, and Vermintide 2, Vermintide sequel. In fact, that is really something that I had failed to spot. So it's a good idea that I have been reading it for you. Indeed, I'll download these games, or maybe even try them if I can stream them through client. We'll see. Probably have to download them first and try them just to get a good flavor. And you should do exactly the same too. Every week, every weekend, if the games are not included on Game Pass, I will try whatever is offered through free play weekends, as that gives me a perfect opportunity, first of all, to use the service, and secondly, to become more familiar with the titles that otherwise I would not be playing at all. So this is an ideal opportunity. I can see got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different Warhammer titles are available there for us to play. I do apologize, still no button in here to mute my mic. All right, we're coming towards the end. Let's see what else is there for today. Well, we have some really good news on Stellar Blade. PS5 patch brings a challenge mode, new outfits, and I have to tell you, what will excite all of you is that these outfits are the ones which previously got censored. So, you know, there was a huge controversy about the outfits, but everybody admired and adored the visuals of Stellar Blade. And I can see that there are 3 new outfits offered, and yeah, these are the ones. I can see them here for me, and these are the ones that were censored. So definitely something for you to try if you are in a if you are in possession of the game. And let me see. Okay, we said that already. There has been some criticism launched at the developer of Mad Max game, and that came from George Miller himself, you know, the director of the series. And don't forget, Furiosa is the new Mad Max title that's been premiered in Cannes at Cannes Film Festival, and it's just being released worldwide. So there's been some discussion. I mean, if you look at the series, it's ideal for video games. You have so much action in there, and, you know, driving and everything else. And I'm sure that they will take it up, and unless George Miller is very much against it, but there's a huge capacity for further development, story-wise and everything else. So let me just see. He said in this interview, I did spot this the other day, it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. It wasn't in our hands. We gave all of our material to a company to do it. George Miller is a perfectionist, and if you watched his Mad Max films, you will know that he really pays huge amount of attention to the stunts and action and everything to be as realistic as possible. So obviously he was unhappy with some of the things in the game, and this was the company Avalanche Studios that produced the title. I actually bought it for about £2 a little while back on Xbox, still not played it. And the director of the company, and he's also a founding member, Christopher Sundberg, was extremely angry to hear this from Miller, and he said, well, this is a complete nonsense and just shows complete arrogance. They did everything they could to make this a complete linear game after having signed up with the developer of open world games. And then he said after the first year of development, they realized that they had forced us to make a linear experience rather than the open world game that we really wanted to have. We threw away a year of work and got to hear that players want autonomy in this day and age. And then he also said, I can feel X with true stories about the development of Mad Max. It was a great game, but released in a terrible release window, which we could not convince the publisher to do otherwise. So there was a big war being fought between the developer and the publisher, as we were forced to release Mad Max on the same day as MGS, Metal Gear Solid. They blamed us for the bad sales and cancelled a bunch of awesome DLCs that was just sitting there waiting to be released. So evidently Miller did hit a raw nerve, and there's been quite a lot of reaction. That's just really fresh, hot off the press. I still think as the film's been released within the last 48 hours worldwide, we are going to be seeing and hearing a lot more in response to these kinds of comments. I expect that there are other companies wanting to make next installments and continue with Mad Max within the format of a video game for obvious reasons. You know, we need to wait and see. And I think I was personally surprised that George Miller felt like that. But then on the other hand, as you heard from the head of the studio, they wanted to make a big open world game, and for whatever reason that was not allowed. They had to go down the linear route, and certainly Mad Max as an open world game, something, you know, of the Fallout style would be a lot more appropriate. Alright, my friends, I think that's probably all I have for you today. We'll have a lot more tomorrow, so stay with us and pop in and have a look through Twitch and YouTube. Video on demand is the name of the game, and you can just ping us some thoughts and views about the new concept, whether you like the news, whether you want me to talk about something else, whether you want more of our community activities included. I'll be very, very curious and interested to hear. So far so good. The comments I received so far were positive, and I was quite surprised with how many people watched some of my news bulletins recently on Twitch in particular, and this is a very good sign. I'm very happy to see that it's being embraced by some of our dedicated community veterans. Still very early days, you know, it'll take us quite a few months to get everything off the ground, but the idea is to carry on with this format, so it's news bulletins together, coupled with podcasts, and then the gameplay. So it's three things delivered in separate sections, rather than having everything within a lengthy one stream. So far so good. I want to thank everyone for watching, for listening. Thank you for supporting our charitable fundraiser. Don't forget, we are supporting Mind Charity, a charity based in Britain that provides services for people who are suffering from mental health issues and or ill mental health. And what better way to support the charity but by contributing and then playing Hellblade. Hellblade being the game that portrays what it's like to be mentally ill the best amongst all that I've ever seen. And it seems like a good week to get fully involved with our charitable fundraiser, our campaign, and support this British-based charity. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being our dedicated community members. Thank you for supporting everything we do here. And I wish you all a very, very good evening. And I also hope you are going to have a wonderful, busy, sunny, hot weekend full of nice strolls in your local area, as well as some interesting gameplay at night. On that note, I shall wish you all a very, very good night.